to say the Josh Russell photography.
Okay.
Like
Joshua.
with the Josh Russell. Like,
Joshua, yeah.
Yeah, like
Joshua
Russell.
Charles Photography. Joshua Charles Photography. That sounds like a robot.
And obviously, if anything doesn't look right, we can cut it out.
Yeah.
No, take live.
Hey guys, Michelle McCullough with Michelle Sells Texoma Group, powered by HBL Realtors. I have been talking quite a bit lately about photography, marketing, and why it's so important with our listings as an agent and for you guys as a buyer or sellers. And I have Josh here, Josh with Joshua Charles Photography. And I thought we'd ask him a few questions. He's my favorite photographer.
Oh, shucks.
So, Josh, I have been, kind of doing a few videos myself talking about why a seller should choose an agent that does professional photography. And since you do all my photography, I thought we would start with why do you think it is important to use professional photos on these listings?
Well, number one, these days, professional photography is kind of a standard in the industry, I would say. Sellers expect their agent to at least produce professional photography, if not professional videography, as well as floor plans and 3D tours as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of an expectation. Zillow did a study, 78% of sellers are actually looking for an agent that does professional photography when they're looking to hire.
Oh, gosh.
And sit down at listing presentations. So that's super important. The other thing to keep in mind really is that, it's no lie, we're in a down market. And so we've got to really kind of, bring out the big guns and kind of help these homes and these listings stand out as much as possible.
For sure.
Especially with new construction. If you're sitting there scrolling through Zillow, 50 new construction listings in a row all start to look the same. You get Zillow fatigue is what I call it.
Exactly.
So having really awesome professional pictures, maybe even a twilight that's got a really nice dramatic sunset, really, really beautiful colors, something to really help set it apart from all those other listings, I think is so important.
Yes.
Homes with professional photography, according to Zillow, sell for 10% more and spend an average of 27 days less on market than a comparable home that doesn't have professional photography.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. And let's face it, people don't drive around looking for homes anymore. That's what they did back in my day. But they don't drive around looking for homes. We have people that are shopping online from other states, other counties, other cities, whatever. And so, what is online is what buyers are seeing.
Absolutely.
And that's what's bringing them to the listings.
Yeah, a home's first showing is not in person anymore. It's online. Back in the day, realtors used to take one picture of the outside of the house and put it in MLS, and it was up to you to figure out what homes you wanted to go see, and it was kind of a surprise what you walked into.
Yeah.
But nowadays, people get online and they thoroughly vet, what homes they want to see before they go see it. Instead of going and seeing 20 homes, they're going to narrow it down to, okay, these are the 5 that we've really gone through and what we really want to see.
Yeah.
So especially too with where we're at in North Texas, we have so many people moving here from out of state. So if you're in Los Angeles or in Silicon Valley looking to buy a home in Sherman, it's not super easy to just say, hey, let me hop on a plane and come see that house in person. But if you have a 3D tour, if you have photos of every room of the house, something that they can see and lay eyes on before they even get here to see it in person, you're that much more ahead of a house that doesn't have all of that.
Agreed.
So.
I see a lot more houses being sold to people that, or at least getting under contract with people that have never laid eyes on the actual house, just buying it, through their realtor's eyes and also what they see online. So the pictures have to tell the whole story of not just the house, but the grounds.
Yeah, absolutely. And bearing that in mind, too, it's also important to realize that while we're trying to make these photos and this home look as good as possible, we still want to kind of find a balance between making it look as good as possible without making it look better than it appears in real life.
That's right.
Because the last thing we want is for someone to show up to a house and feel like they were fleeced by the photos.
Yes.
Because if they show up and they're automatically disappointed walking in the door thinking, this doesn't look as good as the photos made it look.
Yep.
I mean, how good are they going to feel about the home?
That's exactly.
Versus
Yeah.
if they get there and they think, oh my gosh, we love the photos and this home really does live up to what they made it look like. They're going to go through the house with more, rose-colored glasses
Exactly.
compared to if it was the other
Yes.
way around.
Yes. So I do see listings online all the time, and I'm sure everybody does, whether it's Zillow or us as realtors seen it on MLS. That you're scrolling through and you're just seeing a photo directly of the house. It doesn't tell the whole story, and you're thinking, God, they want $400,000 for that, because they don't see that what all it has, what all's involved, or where it's close to. So drone photography isn't that what you suggest? Is
Yeah, no, and it's important that you find a photographer that knows the marketing, the characteristics of the home that are gonna best help market that property. For example, I saw a listing the other day. It was a an older but nice solid bones brick home, brick ranch style home on acreage, but the acreage was beautiful acreage, had a pond, had outbuildings, but when you click on the listing, they had hired a professional photographer, but all they had was a photo of the front of the house, a few photos of the inside of the rooms. I mean, here we have all of this acreage that isn't even shown with drone photography. And I'm really good about, and my clients have realized this, when I show up to a shoot, if they've only ordered ground photos, but I show up and I see, okay, we really need drone photos here, they trust the fact that I'm going to be able to tell them what they need.
Yeah.
And so I think when you're looking for a photographer, it's really important that, not only do they know how to work a camera, but they need to know how to market a property as well.
Agreed.
So.
Yep. And I also see a lot of photos that they look like they were done by a professional, but it seems like they're only taking a picture of the back wall of a room or a picture on a wall. Like, it seems like they're taking pictures of stuff instead of the picture of the room where you see, I don't know, I guess you can't see all four walls, but tell me about that.
Yeah, I like to show 3 walls. It gives a context to the size of the room. When I see a photo that is angled toward one side of the room and doesn't show the full breadth of the space, my first thought is, what are we hiding?
Yes.
What are we not showing in the picture that the homeowner, that the agent doesn't want us to see? And so automatically I'm skeptical of that listing right away.
Yeah.
You've lost that trust in a potential buyer.
Yeah.
So being able to accurately show all of the space as well as possible, I think is really important.
Yep. And so, as far as Texas MLS or our local MLS that we are on in Texas, North Texas, you can put 40 photos in the listing. And I see a lot of listings that don't utilize all that space. And surely there are 40 photos to be taken of a house.
Yeah, you would think. And a lot of agents don't know this, but the more photos that you have, the higher your search results will appear on sites like Zillow and Realtor.com.
There we have it.
So if you have 40 photos on one home and 25 on another, that home with 40 photos is going to appear in the search results before the other.
Okay.
And some agents don't know this as well. You can add beyond the 40 photos to Zillow and to Realtor.com beyond just what's allowed in MLS.
Yes.
And when I shoot a home and I deliver my media to my clients, I wrap the complete set of photos, the 3D tour, the video, everything all together into one unbranded property website that's compliant with MLS. So you can actually take that property website and plug it into the virtual tour link section of your listing. And that's kind of a workaround because you can't directly upload the video to your MLS and you can't have more than 40 photos in MLS. But if you link to that virtual tour, you've essentially linked the buyer to everything and they can see it all in one place.
Well, that brings me to my next question. One of the listings that you did for me was a 4-story house that had like 80-something pictures, and it was very hard to choose between what pictures I wanted to use. Of course, the video helps with that as well, but the website is amazing because it has it all inside. The 3D walkthrough, everything.
Yeah,
right?
And with a relocation or an out-of-state buyer, it's really nice to have photos of like closets or utility rooms that you may not put on the actual listing if it's not the most aesthetic picture.
Yes.
But it's still something that's important to show them if they're interested in the home, and then you
sure.
have that in your back pocket to give them if they want.
And what about just land photos? People think that just because you have land that, it doesn't matter about the photos as much. but there's still a lot of story to tell.
Oh, yeah.
And you do the outlines and stuff like that on your drone photography for sure.
Uh-huh. I mean, and to me, you can find acreage anywhere. To me, photos with land are almost more important than a home because, you can build any home on that land. You can find acreage anywhere.
Yeah.
But being able to convey the emotion and the feeling of what it feels like to be standing on that piece of land, I think is really valuable. And
like
being
that.
able to tell that story is important. And I think I've seen that as a trend with a lot of listings and a lot of videos recently is we're moving away from just photos that show every little piece, and we're moving more toward intentional storytelling and more cinematic trends to where we can really help convey, here's how you're going to feel, here's how you can feel standing on this land with your brand new home.
Well, and that's for sure. You're walking around some woods or over a creek, or even if you're at the lake or on vacation, every moment tells a story. And we sometimes take photos of our vacations or whatever, but we're not portraying the whole story. And that's where good professional photography comes in with real estate for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what advice do you have to agents and sellers, or agents that tell their sellers, when preparing the home for photographs? What makes it look better? For sure, decluttering, but what does that mean exactly?
So it's really easy when you live in your home every day to become blind to the clutter that's around you. You might walk past the stack of books on your counter and not think twice about it, but me walking into your home, I'm going to zero in on, look at this pile of clutter. So cleaning off countertops, removing all personal items. We really want people to be able to see the countertops and the finishes and not all the junk that's piled on top of them, that kind of thing. I've also come to realize over the last several years that I've been doing this that buyers don't have as much vision as I would like to credit them for. It can be tough for people to walk into a home and to see their own stuff and themselves living there, to picture all that. So if we can get rid of personal items, personal photos, really kind of loud or, different decor items, things that are just a little more outlandish, I guess would be the word. Just kind of getting rid of that and making sure everything is, cleaned out, minimalist, neutral, to allow it to where, when a buyer comes through the home or they look at the photos, they can more easily picture.
We're moving
themselves
anyway,
living there.
right?
Yeah.
Pack it up.
Yeah, might as well get ahead on the jump. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
And what about lighting?
Lighting is important. Different homes, of course, are going to be shot at different times of the day, just depending on different characteristics. Like, for example, if you have a home that is in a heavily wooded area, there's a lot of trees around the home. We would want to shoot that more in the morning or more in the evening when we have softer, more even light. That way we don't have harsh shadows from the trees all over everything. But if it's like a new build in a neighborhood that's been cleared out, doesn't have a lot of trees, usually midday is best because we're going to get a lot of natural light bouncing in through the windows of the home. So if you do ever have a question, if obviously we have to schedule some shoots based on the homeowner or the realtor's schedule, or if you have to have it on the market by a certain day. But if there is flexibility, I always encourage people, give me a call, tell me about the property, tell me about the house, and we'll look at it on a map and we'll figure out the best time to shoot it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And so even when it's bright outside and there's lots of windows, it's very important to make sure that bulbs are in every light fixture and that they all match. And preferably, not yellow lighting?
Yeah, we like the daylight 5500 Kelvin light bulbs tend to be best. When I worked in production with HGTV, when we would show up to a home for a shoot before anything was filmed, we would send our PAs through the house with boxes of light bulbs, and they would replace every light bulb with 5000 Kelvin light bulbs.
Okay.
And then, especially, you don't even have to go as far as doing that, but the biggest thing, if we can at least just replace where there's mismatched light bulbs, if there's like a blue and a yellow light bulb in the same light fixture, that just, even with edit, I can work with it in post, but even with editing, it just doesn't always look the best.
Yep.
So.
And it just when you walk into a house, when you're showing a buyer and you can flip on lights and all the lights come on, it's just amazing. Yep.
Lighting, and then another thing too, one of my secret tips, one of the biggest small things, in my opinion, that you can do that to drastically improve the look of your home is washing the windows, making
Oh.
sure the windows are clean
Mm-hmm.
and not dirty and dusty.
Yeah.
The photos are going to look so much better. And then when someone shows up to the home, I mean, it looks fresh and clean from
does.
the outside before they even walk in the door.
Especially lake homes, when you want to see out the windows and see the lake or whatever it is that whatever your view is,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So we're in Texas. We got dust blowing around.
We
It
do.
It collects on those windows like crazy.
It does.
So, yeah.
It does, especially in these new construction areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Josh, what do you think about videos as included? Do you think it's necessary to have a video? And what do most people do with these videos that you make for them?
These days, I would say video is super important. I do a lot of video tours for my clients that actually, just as much as they help sell the house, it helps get the agent and their brand out there.
Yeah.
Because, inevitably, anytime I'm out on these shoots, I end up making small talk with homeowners. And the question always comes up, how do you know Michelle? How did you find Michelle? Why are you working with Michelle? And 90% of the time they'll say, I saw their videos on social media. I saw their marketing on social media. And it's like, so even if we film a video for that house and it's the photos or something else that sells the house, that video is even strong for your marketing too.
Yes.
And then when you're on your next listing presentation, you can sit down with those people with this awesome video, with these awesome photos, and say, this is how we're going to blow your marketing out of the water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Whatever you can do to make your listing stand out on top of everybody else's is, I guess, the goal, right?
Yeah.
When there's 10 houses for sale in the same price range, you want yours to be number one.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this does help.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Josh, how long have you been a photographer?
I've dabbled in photography since I was in high school.
Okay.
But I've been a professional photographer since I quit law school in 2016.
Okay.
So right about 10
Okay.
years now.
Yeah, nice.
So
And so did you go straight to real estate or did you do something else first?
I did. So I was going to be a real estate attorney was my plan.
Okay.
So when I quit law school, I took my love of photography that I'd always had as a hobby. When I was in college, we always used to go out to New Mexico to go ski, and I always had my camera with me.
Yeah.
So I took, my love of photography and that goal of becoming, a real estate attorney, and decided, well, let's go into real estate marketing instead.
Nice.
So when I quit law school, I went to work with a real estate media marketing company down in Dallas, and I got on with them as a photographer, and that was really cool. We shot, $10 and $15 million homes in Highland Park
my
and
gosh.
University Park, and I did that for about a year until I moved into a position as the regional manager for the company. So I managed a team of 15 photographers as well as schedulers and editors, and kind of managed
Nice.
just the whole day-to-day operation.
Okay. Yeah.
I did that for a few years, and then just really kind of wanted to get back into the actual creative aspect of the job because I felt like I was managing people more than I was doing what I loved. So I left. I had a friend who was involved with production on an HGTV show called No Demo Reno. So she had a really amazing opportunity for me to come work with the design production team. So I went and worked with them until that show wrapped. The hostess decided that she didn't want to work with HGTV anymore.
Okay.
So after that, we got tired of all the traffic and everything down in McKinney and Dallas, and so we moved back up here where we grew up.
Yeah.
And I've had my own business up here ever since.
Okay. Nice. Nice. And so, there has been talk about agents using photos from a previous listing or agents using photos for their own marketing, even though they don't have that house listed anymore. So tell me about copyright rules and, how that affects you.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I'm a happy person. I like to get along with everybody, but this is where it can kind of become an awkward, tense situation sometimes. And I always try to solve these situations where it can work out as favorably for all parties if possible. But it's kind of a standard in this industry when you hire a real estate photographer and you pay them for the shoot that you pay them for the usage rights to those photos.
Okay.
So it's important to know that the photographer still retains ownership and copyright of those photos. So you having usage rights, you can use them for your marketing, you can use them however you need for that, but you yourself don't have the rights to sell them to anybody else. and nobody else has the rights to take them and use them for their own commercial purposes.
Okay.
So if for any reason that listing terminates and another agent comes along, they would have to either negotiate purchasing usage rights to those photos, or they
From
would
you.
have from me,
Mm-hmm.
as I'm the owner of the photos. I usually check with my first clients to make sure that's okay with them first, just because to me personally, I only feel like that's right. Or if we can't reach an amicable decision that way, then you just have to hire somebody else and reshoot the photos.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's the misconception, I think, because some sellers tell us, I already have photos. Well, where did you get those photos, Mr. Seller? And they're like, well, I bought them. But that doesn't mean they own them, correct?
Yeah. So recently, a few months ago, I had shot a house for an agent that I work with pretty regularly. That home was actually purchased by another agent here in the area as an investment to rent, to put on the rental market. So I was on Facebook one day just scrolling through, and I saw that this home had been listed again for rent with the pictures that I had taken for the original agent.
Okay.
So I had to reach out to this new agent and say, hey, I'm so sorry. I hate to be this way, but this is a little awkward. These are my photos. And he came back and he said, well, the agent told me I could use them, so I just assumed that would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And, I said, okay, I get it. It's not like I'm mad or anything. We do need to figure this out, moving forward as far as your usage rights. I said, and then number two, I think this is kind of a good educational opportunity. I said, because now you know this about photos. I said, but then number two is like, as a real estate agent in a transaction, I mean, are you going to take anything that the seller says at face value? Are you just going to assume that what they're saying is correct without verifying it first?
Yes.
I mean, if I said, oh, yeah, I own that piece of land back behind my house, are you going to make sure that it's not owned by the city before you tell your buyer that,
Uh-huh.
So I just told him, I said, hey, moving forward, you should probably verify with like a written permission
Due
from
diligence.
the photographer that you have permission to use those
Exactly.
pictures.
Yes.
So
I know that there has been, and I've learned this in some of the classes, but I know a broker actually that had $1 million lawsuit against her for using photos that a builder had given her, and she was listing all of his new construction, and she was using the same photos over and over, and the photographer sued her for, it was like somewhere around $1 million. I don't think that the photographer won through her. I don't think she lost the lawsuit. I'm not so sure what happened to the builder, but
I think I've heard of that. I believe they ended up going after the builder. I think who was ultimately
it was in Austin, I do
responsible.
believe,
Yeah.
is where it happened. But I mean, that would be a very scary time. I would rather not have to go through that and just spend a few $100s and buy my own.
Yeah, better be safe than sorry. Make
Yes.
sure
Yep.
everything's good to go.
Well, Josh, I'm so glad that I met you through the Homes by Laney group.
Me too.
I can't remember what function we met at first, but I saw you around at 2 or 3 of them, and you did a photo shoot for me on a piece of property that I had already listed, I do believe, and just needed some better photography, and it helped sell that property, and we've been besties ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've loved working
appreciate
with
it,
y'all.
and
Yeah,
I know,
y'all are always
me
such
too.
a good time, and
Yeah.
anytime I have Michelle McCullough on my calendar, I know it's going to be a good day. So
Never know what you're going to get here.
yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add?
One other thing is just as I know kind of AI is on the forefront of people's minds, and AI is kind of a thing. I think it's worth mentioning. We're starting to see more AI in photography. I think if I were to make a prediction, I would assume that most local associations and most MLS, boards are going to start regulating AI content, because it just automatically lends a distrust to the listing. If somebody sees content that's obviously AI edited, they're going to think, how else am I being deceived? What isn't going to look true to life, that kind of thing. And then in addition to, I think a lot of agents maybe don't realize, and, they do need to be careful, because going back to the whole lawsuit thing, if you hire a photographer and you take those photos or you take that video and you plug it into AI to make edits or make changes, or you do your own virtual staging. A lot of times, you'll have to check your service agreement with your photographer, but most of the time that is a copyright violation.
Okay. Good
so
to know.
it's
Yeah.
always be careful if you ever need any edits or any changes. Always go through your photographer first. Always allow them to make the changes, or ask them for permission to do it yourself.
Good point.
Instead of just assuming that it's okay.
Good point. So, for instance, they have these AI apps now that take photos and turn them into videos. So that's kind of what you're referring to.
Yeah.
Yep.
In fact, I know an agent who used photos to generate one of those videos from another photographer, and that photographer came back and invoiced them for a video.
Oh wow. Okay.
Because that video was
Okay.
created using their photos, and
Okay.
they were legally well within their rights to do so.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So
And-
always be careful.
And I guess this might not be AI so much, but the different things that we see. Virtual staging is one, as long as you disclose it, and show the photo of before and after, like an empty room to a virtually staged room. But what about like photoshopping so much that something is gone, or the grass is green when they have a dead lawn or something like that? I feel like that's kind of deceiving the public as well.
I think it is a little deceptive. I mean, with grass replacement, you toe a line because, if it's the time of year where the grass is just dead and
Yeah.
you know that it's going to look green and lush in the middle of the spring or the summer, I don't think there's anything deceptive editing it like that. Now, if you're adding grass that isn't really there, filling in patches of dirt that the grass isn't really going to grow there, that's where I think it becomes deceptive. And then, of course, if we're editing out foundation cracks or missing pieces of trim or, other things that aren't going to be fixed by the time the sale goes through, that's where I tell people, of course, I can make those changes for you, but just so you know, that's going to put you at a risk of, misrepresentation.
Yeah.
So.
I get it.
Yeah.
Well, Josh, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you have some photos coming up. Probably did photos before you got here, and now you're going for more photos after, right?
Yep.
Do you feel like it's busy for you right now?
It is.
Okay.
I feel like the market has picked up. A lot of the agents that I'm working with are telling me that they're seeing a lot of movement. One agent that I work with had 4 contracts or 4 listings go under contract the other day in the same day.
Okay, nice.
So a lot of land listings that I've seen sitting on the market for a few weeks are now all of a sudden going under contract, moving a little bit. So
Good.
I think it's a really good time.
Well, that's good news for us, isn't it, Jacob? Well, thank you so much, Josh.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
As always, it's a pleasure.
Of course. Anytime I get to see Michelle, like I said, it's a great day. So.